In the world of firearms, the 12-gauge shotgun stands as the ultimate symbol of raw, uncompromising close-quarters power. Whether deployed for home defense, tactical operations, or sport hunting, its devastating stopping power is universally respected. But not all shotguns are created equal. While some are mechanical masterpieces engineered to save your life, others are deeply flawed, outright hazardous liabilities that pose a greater threat to the operator than any target downrange. Today, we are diving deep into the engineering nightmares, structural failures, and lethal design flaws of the top 6 dangerous 12-gauge shotguns you should stop buying immediately. We will look beyond the tactical marketing to analyze the mechanical flaws that make these firearms an active hazard to own. And trust me, our #1 spot features a notorious mechanical disaster, whose eye-watering collector price tag completely masks its catastrophic operational risks. Before we unlock the vault and dissect these hazardous firearms, make sure to prime your playlist, lock into the channel, and prepare for a deep dive into the engineering choices that went horribly wrong. Number 6. Panzer Arms. R12. Starting off at number 6 is the Panzer Arms R12. Command leading the wave of ultra-affordable magazine-fed semi-automatic shotguns flowing into the market. This firearm carries a retail price point of approximately $350 in 2026. While the allure of an R15-style layout running heavy 12-gauge shells is highly tempting for budget-minded buyers, the reality under the hood tells a radically different story of cut corners and dangerous mechanical failures. From an engineering standpoint, the AR-12 utilizes a gas-operated piston system housed within an aluminum upper and a polymer lower receiver. Weighing in at around 8 pounds with an 18.5-inch barrel, it looks aggressively tactical, but the internal metallurgy is notoriously soft and poorly heat-treated. The core danger lies within its bolt carrier group and locking block, which are prone to premature wear, causing severe out-of battery detonations where a shell ignites before the action is fully sealed, sending high-pressure gas and metal shards straight into the shooter's face. The trigger pull is mushy and inconsistent, breaking anywhere from 6 to 8 pounds, while the short bolt throw frequently short cycles, jamming live rounds against the feeding ramp. Ergonomically, the weapon mimics standard M4 controls, offering familiar safety switches and magazine releases, but the overall build quality feels brittle and front-heavy, offering zero stock adjustability to mitigate the punishing recoil of 3-inch magnum loads. If your defensive firearm has a habit of chewing through its own internal components and risking a catastrophic failure during a standard course of fire, it belongs far away from your safe. Verdict: the Panzer Arms R12 sacrifices crucial metallurgical safety for tactical aesthetics, making it a liability you should absolutely cross off your shopping list. Number 5. UTAS. UTS. 15. Moving along to number 5, we find ourselves looking at the UTAS UTS 15. This futuristic dual-magazine bullpup shotgun burst onto the scene, promising 15 rounds of continuous 12-gauge firepower, commanding a modern used and collector market price of roughly $750. However, behind its science fiction exterior lies a deeply troubled mechanical layout that has earned a reputation as one of the most frustratingly unsafe polymer platforms ever engineered. The core engineering of the UTS-15 revolves around a pump-action system feeding from 2 separate over-the-barrel magazine tubes, utilizing a selector switch to alternate between feeds. Constructed almost entirely of fiber, reinforced polymer, this 9.2-pound weapon features an 18.5-inch barrel, but the tolerances inside the receiver are notoriously sloppy. The primary hazard stems from its tendency to double feed or dry feed simultaneously, causing live shells to jam into one another within the feeding throat, which can crack the plastic housing, or worse, cause a loose firing pin to slam into an unchambered primer. Its pump action requires an incredibly aggressive, flawless stroke. Any slight hesitation results in a short shuck that can leave the bolt partially unlocked, rendering the heavy 5.5-pound trigger completely unpredictable. On the ergonomic front, the top-mounted feeding ports require the operator to awkwardly open a dust cover right next to their cheek weld, meaning any venting gas from an out-of-battery malfunction is directed straight into the user's eyes. The integrated pistol grip and straight-line recoil path look modern, but the excessive bulk and sharp polymer edges make it incredibly uncomfortable to operate over extended shooting sessions. Verdict: the UTAS UTS-15 is a classic case of over-engineering overtaking basic mechanical safety, transforming what should be a powerhouse bullpup into a jam-prone hazard. Number 4. Kel. Kel-Tec KSG, taking the fourth spot on our list, is a highly popular firearm that might catch many by surprise. The Kel-Tec KSG. Retailing brand new in 2026 for approximately $850. This dual-tube pump-action bullpup is highly sought after for its ultra-compact design and impressive 15-round capacity. Yet, while the gun is mechanically sound in terms of its internal firing mechanism, it possesses an inherent severe ergonomic hazard that has led to devastating self-inflicted injuries for unsuspecting operators. Engineered with a steel receiver enclosed in a polymer shell, the KSG weighs about 6.9 pounds unloaded and packs an 18.5-inch barrel into an overall length of just 26.1 inches. It operates via a traditional dual-action bar pump mechanism feeding from two independent tubes located beneath the barrel. The action is notoriously stiff, demanding a violent full-force rack to properly cycle shells and prevent short shucking. The trigger is surprisingly crisp for a bullpup, breaking at around 5 pounds. But the ultimate danger is not found in the sear or the bolt. It is found directly on the foreign pump itself. Because the KSG is so phenomenally short, the user's hand sits mere inches away from the muzzle during operation. If an operator pumps the gun forcefully without an attached hand, stop or vertical grip, and their hand slips off the slick polymer forend, their momentum will slide their hand directly over the muzzle just as the weapon fires, resulting in catastrophic self-inflicted wounds. Verdict: the Kel-Tec KSG is an incredibly potent tool, but its unforgiving ergonomic geometry makes it an exceptionally dangerous firearm for anyone who fails to respect its physical boundaries. Number 3. Remington Model 887 Nitro Mag. Next up at number 3 is the ill-fated Remington Model 887 Nitro Mag, intended to be the high-tech weather-proof successor to the legendary Model 870. This firearm currently circulates on the secondary market for roughly $300. Instead of cementing Remington's legacy of reliability, the 887 became a monumental disaster that triggered a massive safety recall due to a terrifying defect that could cause the weapon to fire completely on its own. The engineering concept behind the 887 was armor lock technology, a process where a solid steel receiver and barrel were completely molded with a thick layer of synthetic polymer to prevent rust. Weighing around 7.4 pounds with a 28-inch barrel on hunting models, it looked like a tank, but the polymer coating frequently trapped internal moisture, causing the underlying steel to rot invisibly. Mechanically, the true horror lay within the bolt and firing pin assembly. A manufacturing defect allowed the firing pin to bind permanently in the forward position. This meant that when an operator chambered a 3-inch or 3.5-inch Magnum shell, the extended pin would strike the primer instantly upon closing the action, creating a catastrophic slam fire without anyone ever touching the trigger. Ergonomically, the gun was a bulky, unappealing brick with aggressive tire, tread texturing on the grip and forend that tore up shooters' hands, while the slide release was awkwardly small and difficult to actuate under stress. The slide action itself felt gritty and plastic, heavy, completely lacking the smooth confidence, inspiring mechanical click of an older wingmaster. Verdict: the Remington Model 887 Nitro Mag is a dangerous failure of modern material design, earning its spot on this list as a firearm that can literally discharge the moment you load it. Number 2. Winchester Model 11 SL. Widowmaker securing the runner. Up position at number 2 is a historical relic that every vintage firearm enthusiast needs to avoid. The Winchester Model 11 SL, universally known by its grim nickname, the Widowmaker, can be found at auctions today from anywhere between $250 to $400. This early 20th century semi-automatic 12 gauge represents a time when firearm design lacked basic human safety parameters, resulting in a gun that quite literally hunted its own owners. To circumvent John Browning's patents on the long recoil operating system used in the auto, 5 Winchester's engineers created a blowback system where the entire barrel remained stationary but the heavy bolt recoiled backward inside the receiver. Weighing nearly 8 pounds, the mechanical fatal flaw of this design was the complete absence of a traditional charging handle on the bolt. To load or cycle the weapon, the operator had to grasp a knurled section of the actual barrel and forcefully push the entire barrel rearward into the receiver against a massive recoil spring. The internal trigger mechanism was rudimentary, with a heavy 6-pound pull that offered very little drop safety by modern standards. The ergonomic nightmare of this loading process meant that if a shell jammed or if a shooter wanted to chamber a round, they would frequently place the buttstock flat on the ground and lean over the muzzle, using both hands to push the barrel downward. If the chambered round went off due to a worn sear or a stuck firing pin, the blast would fire directly into the shooter's face, neck, or chest, cementing its terrifying legacy in American firearms history. Verdict: the Winchester Model 11 SL is a fascinating piece of engineering history, but its lethal operational requirements make it a historical trap that should never be loaded or fired under any circumstances. Number 1. Cobray/Excam Street Sweeper Striker 12. And finally, taking the number 1 spot as the ultimate dangerous 12-gauge shotgun you should stop buying is the notorious Cobray Street Sweeper, also known as the Striker 12. Because it was officially classified as a destructive device under the National Firearms Act, its extreme rarity commands an astronomical collector price tag of anywhere between $2,500 to $4,000 in 2026. Do not let the heavy premium fool you. This weapon is widely regarded by military historians and armorers as a mechanical abomination that is just as hazardous to hold as it is to stand in front of. The core engineering of the Street Sweeper utilizes a massive spring-wound revolving drum that holds 12 rounds of 12-gauge ammunition, mated to an 18.5-inch barrel with a total weight of over 9 pounds unloaded. Unlike a traditional revolver, the drum does not advance automatically via the trigger pull. Instead, the operator must manually wind a large key on the front of the drum face, tightly tensioning a massive internal clockwork spring. The action is a pure double action, only nightmare, requiring an atrocious, heavy 20-plus pound trigger pull just to advance the drum and drop the internal hammer. The massive safety flaw lies in the winding mechanism. If the internal clockwork spring snaps or slips due to the intense recoil of 12-gauge shells, it can trigger a chain fire, detonating multiple shells inside the drum simultaneously and blowing the entire cylinder walls apart next to your support arm. From an ergonomic perspective, the Street Sweeper is an unmitigated disaster, featuring a crude top, folding wire stock that provides zero cheek weld and fails to absorb any of the violent recoil. Loading and unloading the weapon requires individual shells to be ejected one by one using a slow manual ejector rod, much like an old single-action cowboy revolver, making clearing a catastrophic malfunction an agonizingly dangerous and prolonged ordeal. Verdict: the Cobray Street Sweeper is an overhyped, mechanically fragile, and structurally hazardous novelty that serves as the perfect example of why some firearms are better left as museum pieces. Navigating the history and mechanics of these 6 12-gauge shotguns reveals a critical truth about the firearms industry. Innovation without rigorous safety and engineering standards is a recipe for disaster. From the budget-strapped metallurgical failures of modern imports to the unforgiving ergonomics of high-capacity bullpups and the lethal engineering flaws of historical designs, these weapons prove that firepower is nothing without absolute control and reliability. A great shotgun should be a seamless extension of your hands, an ironclad insurance policy that delivers absolute certainty when the stakes are at their highest, not a ticking time bomb waiting to malfunction in your hands. Thank you for diving deep into this technical analysis with us today. If you appreciate high-caliber insights and thorough breakdowns of firearm engineering, make sure to slam that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss our next masterclass in weapons technology. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and until next time, keep your eyes on the target and stay safe on the range.